Elta's retirement journey, just wanted to put a little something out there for to possibly help some of the folks who may or could be going through layoffs. I'm originally from Detroit, and that automotive industry up there had tremendous amount of layoffs. And it can be a little shocking to have that happen to you just out of the blue. Typically, when there's going to be layoffs in any company, you always start with the people with disciplinary issues. Then from there, you look at people who are not meeting expectations. And then, of course, those folks that have attendance issues. Um, that way, they'll get rid of those people first. There'll be show calls as to why they're being terminated, and then it helps them eliminate from paying severance pay and things like that. They can just get rid of those people, the slackers. And other times they just overhire. Mostly tech industry right now seems to be having the biggest layoffs. They're just finding that they just did too much hiring, and some people they just don't need anymore to provide the support and the level of service that they need. So I wanted to put together a little something because I have survived a number of layoffs since I've been down here in Georgia, which I arrived in 2005. It's right around August 5th. And typically, they'll start with the different shifts. If you're 24-hour operations, they'll look at the staffing and again, the disciplinary issues. If you're not there, you're calling in a lot, your attendance is really poor, and they got people who are actually doing the job and responsive, they'll get rid of the slackers. And where you have three people on an overnight shift, you may go down to two so that if one person calls out or is sick, they always have somebody to cover it. Then you look through your day shifts, and that could be the same thing. Um, in my case, I worked at a recycling company here in Atlanta, just outside of Atlanta, in a place called East Point. And what I saw there is the last two guys that got hired were the first to be let go. But what I did notice um, is that as a desk side support person, I'm walking around in the marketing department and they're talking about, they got the business TV on and, there's a 40% drop in people's retirement accounts being wiped out with a 40% loss in value in one day. And then you're hearing the talk about one of your buyers of your aluminum, like Alcova, has canceled their contract. So they don't need any future orders. So right there, that is a reduction in staff. The other thing I noticed is that the consultant that was supporting the software that allows us to keep track of the commodities, the customers, and the weights on the products that they're bringing in and everything, they wanted the count of the number of customers that are coming in per hour. And that was a sign right there that they needed to reduce staff. You got all these extra people, you only getting so many customers per hour, you know, we got to cut these people. So I noticed that. I remember that specifically. And then my boss, he was going in his office and he was in there like all day with the door locked. And then they would bring other people in there and it was always locked. There was no open door um, type of policy anymore. He was just in there with the door locked in meetings all day. And then I got to notice that, hey, if anyone calls in that their account is locked, that they can't sign in, you let me know. And that was assist admin. And then the assist admin would check and start turning their stuff off, all access, and then notify HR. And HR would go over there and they would have a brief chat and then they'd start having people clear out their stuff. And that's how it went. And that's what's in the latter part of 2008. It was called Black October, right in October, first week in October 2008. And then that was pretty bad all the way up thereafter until really about 2011. It was just tough going. But in my case, I floated um, that the new plant that they built in Savannah, that it would be financially beneficial for me to consider taking that position before laying me off. And I floated that to the assistant manager. And that's a tip that I'm giving you right now. If you know that your division is shrinking, you might want to float other divisions that are profitable that may need staffing, even if it's a downgrade in what you're doing, or you got to get a little dirty. If you want to preserve that paycheck, you might want to start talking to some managers or letting people know that you might be interested, and tell them, hey, before you guys make a financial decision on me, I would be interested in working in some different areas or different divisions. And they'll remember that because you're letting them know that you're a team player. So that's what I want to talk about on this retirement channel, because some of us who have been working for a period of time, we go through things. And what I wanted to do was put together something um, that could be used as possible signs. And what I'm looking for is, if you view this and you find this helpful and you say, yeah, I've seen that, is let me know, because I got everything numbered out and I've got a couple suggestions. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into that, and I'm going to show you my presentation. Okay, so hang in there with me. Okay, folks, let me just make sure I'm in this, and it looks like we got it up. Signs layoff may be coming. So the first one is obvious: your peers and others no longer seen in the office. You got some folks in there, they're in there one day and then they're not. Um, you look them up in the firm-wide directory and they don't appear, or they're inactive. I also mentioned this earlier. Your managers spending locks themselves in the office extended time frequently. They're in the office and they got to mull over and be in these meetings to make these financial decisions on who to let go. Because it is strictly, for the most part, a financial decision when you look at workers who have been doing their jobs and you're forced to let them go. You got your HR representatives showing up, walking around, things like that. This one is a maybe. You put in for some PTO time and it's getting rejected. Well, prove PTO and you're going to be let go within the same week or within 2 weeks. You're going to have a lot of time off. That could be an indicator. I don't know of that happening. I rarely get mines rejected unless I'm doing a volunteer work and I'm saying, hey, I want to volunteer on this day. And they're like, well, I wish you would have told me weeks ago. So that's a no, you can't volunteer this day, because then my employer will pay for the volunteer days. Your projects are getting handed off. You're working on projects, you're asked to hand off to someone else or bring someone else up to speed, or new projects you're not being brought into. And then last but least, you show up to work, your badge or your login account is disabled. So those are some of the things that I've seen, and I thought maybe this would be helpful. Now, there are phases to layoffs, and like I mentioned, you do have the people with disciplinary problems. You will have people with attendance, folks. And when I'm talking about disciplinary, I'm talking about write-ups. Attendance can be write-ups, where especially if you're in a call center where they have the first seven occurrences, where the first two we know, the third one, and they keep these tardinesses on your record for 6 months, and then they want to start writing you up and stuff like that. And then you got the attendance issues, where if you're just calling off all the time, um, those people will probably, they can kiss their jobs goodbye. If I was in business, those are the people I'm going after right away. I don't care what you've done to turn it around. You've been blacklisted already, and I got to cut people. You're gone. Um, However, some of you guys are going to survive the luck goes. So if you survive around, I would recommend, now this is just me speaking, I would recommend building up a rainy day fund. And the way you can do that is, I've done this before. I would either increase my exemptions, the number of dependents you have, you can go all the way up to 9, or you could possibly go tax exempt. Or the easiest thing to do is switch the head of household. They take out a lot of less taxes. The other thing I would do is I would stop investing in the 401k. You need cash on hand to cover you not having a job and while you're collecting unemployment, hopefully. I would also think about compressing or eliminating expenses. So if you're going to take a big vacation, like I'm planning to take a big vacation, I'm planning to spend like $13,000, but I'm over 62. I've got retirement money. I can get cash anytime I want. I don't want to. I might consider not going on that vacation because if I get let go, I'm already going to go and try and find another job. And this one right here at the bottom is update your resume. You got projects you're working on, get that resume updated so you're ready to go. Now, as a 62-year-old tech support person, I actually turned my resume on, and I've got some people who were reaching out to me for employment opportunity. My resume was written in such a way that they felt that I would be a good fit. Now, some of the jobs I probably really wouldn't want to take, depending on who the company is and what their policies are and what the work requirement is. But anything to keep a regular paycheck in, you're a contractor. It's at will employment. So you go in there, you work 30 days, you find something better, or you get called back, you just quit. Or in my case, since I'm a go getter and I feel that these next few years I need to push my wages as high as I can, I would say, hey, look, I'm going to be taking this other job. I like it here. Would you like to use me part time on the weekends or in the evenings between 6 and midnight? Take that money. So, this is what I wanted to bring out there and talk with you folks about. Now, stay tuned because I'm going to do another one on how you can bring in extra money once you're laid off. These are really, really small things that normally you would overlook. And one of the items will bring you instant money as soon as you go, but there's a stigma to it. And there's some details that you need to know. So, this is Elton's retirement journey. Like, subscribe, and stick around for my next video. I may try and get it out today. Thanks for viewing.